Hey guys, so here's the thing. I'm going to be talking about something a little on the more personal side today. This is going to be a very long video, most likely, but I want to address some things about my first experience being a published author at the age of 17. So with me right now, I have, the one you guys have been seeing all over the place. This is the first copy of my novel that I'm writing right now, that is the first in a series of books. But this is not my first time doing this. This was my first time writing a book. You can see it's a lot smaller than this one. Yes, they are printed differently, but this one is 750 pages, 50 something pages compared to the 361 that this is. And mind you, this is 12 chapters. This is how different my writing was 10 years ago today. I'm going to address a few things first and foremost. The series that I wrote when I was a teenager was quite different from what I'm writing now. This was a Gaslamp or Gothic Victorian supernatural story with vampires. And I actually designed the cover for this one and its sequel, and I will address the sequel in a minute. But this book, I'm going to talk to you about this whole thing. I'm going to talk to you about the Scarlet Saga. Most specifically, Scarlet Memories, The Hallowed Lost, and the books that came after it, and what my experience was as a 17-year-old being published, and the things I wish I would have listened to, and the things that I wish I would have done differently. So let's talk about it, shall we? Okay, so first and foremost, I was published very young. I shouldn't have been. I would not advise teenagers to be published, honestly. At least not without severe guidance from people who have been in the industry for a while, or people who have been published before, or maybe even other adults. This was very difficult to learn the hard way, and I wish I had done things a lot different. I want to also address how big this book used to be. I was writing this in my junior and senior year of high school. I was homeschooled. I was sick in the hospital off and on a lot, so I was writing this when I was in the hospital on oxygen because of a lung infection. The book, when I finished it in November of, would have been 2011, I think, I totaled it out at 578,932 words, and I don't even remember the whole page count. I don't remember it. It was too much. I'll put it this way, there was enough there for the book to be broken down into 4 different stories. 4 books came out of that one thing. It was massive and not edited. And I started querying for agents and publishers, and I did not listen to the query advices. I just charged headlong into it and didn't really think about what I was doing at the time. I got a lot of rejections from agents and publishers who were saying that my story was generic, that it was unreadable because I was a first-time writer. I'd never written a book. I'd been writing fan fiction, but that was it. But I wrote this whole thing, and I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, okay, I wrote a book, now what? But I wish I had listened to some of the advice that I did get from agents and publishers who were willing to talk to me about that. And that is not something that a lot of agents and publishers will do with new authors, particularly teenage authors. I was told that because I was so young that nobody would take a chance on me, even though authors of The Inheritance Cycle, Aragon, and Brandon Sanderson were both published as teenagers, but that's a whole nother kettle of fish that I don't want to get into. I did find a publisher eventually. As far as I know, they are no longer active as of this time. I haven't been able to find anything on them. I don't know if I should tell you their name. I mean, if you look up the book, you're going to see the name. So, there's their logo. It's Wandering Sage Publications. So it's not going to matter what I tell you there. But this was not what I had planned. I'm going to be honest. This ended up being a pretty horrific ordeal. Very stressful ordeal. When I got a publisher, I was so excited that I just wanted to charge headlong into it. I wanted to get that book out there. I wanted to dethrone Harry Potter. I thought I was going to do these things, but I realized as time went on that that's a lot of work for someone to put in by themselves when they're with a very small publishing house. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I made a lot of mistakes. My first mistake was trusting this publisher. I want to address this. I was really dumb. I was a dumb kid. I took my contract to a lawyer, and he told me, without having edits done to it to assure my protection, to not sign that thing. And I did not listen to that all the way. Yeah, did the guy edit things as per the request of the lawyer? Yeah, but they weren't really as sound as you'd think they should be. Even now, I don't really remember all that much about it. It's really kind of hazy because it's been over 10 years, but I remember that I signed the contract digitally after he edited a few little things in there that just ensured that I kept the rights to the book even though he was printing it. So that was a good move on my lawyer's part, and I'm glad he did that, and I'm glad I didn't ignore that much, but I ignored a lot more than I should have. So we're going to talk now about the thing that I should have noticed as a problem the first time when this editing started for the book. When I started editing this book, broke it down into 4 books. There was The Hallowed Lost, The Echo of Whispers, The Black Butterfly, and The White Rose. Those are the 4 books that were part of this series. Basically, what happened with this book is I had people in my church editing this book. There was like 6 or 7 people doing it. And then I sent it to a family member who knew how to edit a little bit better, and she did the rest of the edits and got it fixed. The book I'm holding is not that edited version. This right here, this is the unedited version of this book. Completely unedited. This is the first 12 chapters of an unedited manuscript. Yeah. That happened. When I caught it, he said, okay, we'll fix it in the next release. We'll make sure we get the right one in. These are considered limited edition rare prints. And I always convince myself that if I ever were to go back and write this series over again and publish it after I do Ayamatsu Chronicles, that maybe these books would actually be worth something, because all they are right now is an embarrassment to me. I'm going to be completely honest. They're embarrassing. But that's not even the end of this. It gets worse. So I actually got into a library in Louisiana. That was really cool. I got quite a few sales. I had a website. I was on the author page for the publisher. Like I said, I designed my own covers. I had no interior formatting done that was like really detailed, very pretty. It was very bland, as you saw. Things just weren't good. to be honest. The thing that really got me here was the fact that the book was just kind of a mess, to be honest. It worried me. I was very stressed out from it. It kind of made me think that maybe I made a mistake in getting published in the first place. But I was like, well, I'm already here. Kind of can't stop now. I got on the Jack and Kimberly show as a teenager. I was 18 at the time. And I told the story about what inspired me to write the book. And it is a doozy of a story, let me tell you. I'll talk about that another time when I talk about the actual series itself. If you guys want to talk about that some more, we'll talk about it. But the thing that gets me here is that there were red flags that I didn't listen to, that I didn't notice, because I was so ecstatic to be published at such a young age, which was so rare. I was able to accomplish something that I did not think I could. If that even makes any sense. And the thing that got me the most wound up and everything was the fact that I made a huge mistake. I didn't listen. I wasn't careful enough. And I charged head into a situation that I knew nothing about. I'm going to reiterate this to you guys right now. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but there's too much to cover, and I'm just trying to cover the basic bases. Listen to anyone who is willing to mentor you. Do your research. Please, for the love of God, research everything. If you want to traditionally publish and you're not going for the big five, which I will talk about that in the videos coming up, I will talk to you about the red tape and just acrobatics you have to pull to be in a traditionally published industry. It's insane. But that's not what this is about. This is about the mistakes I made and the things that I'm telling you not to make yourself. So, with the book, things were a little different. Things were just kind of going along as they would. Even though the book was unedited and it was raw and it was a mess, I made $3,000 off of this somehow. I'm still suspicious of that, and a little bit my mom was too, and I'm glad she was, because that should have been a red flag that something was weird. But I was really excited. That was a good thing. For a teenager, that's a really good paycheck. But it's not as glamorous as you think it is, and it did not turn out the way I wanted it to. I'm going to talk about the first book going over pretty well, pretty much, yeah. It went over, okay, there was some hiccups, but I was like, that's what to be expected. They're a small publisher, I'm a new author, there's going to be mistakes, they happen. I wrote it off. Don't do that. If you get into a small publishing house as a traditionally published author, and you see any of these signs, leave. Just leave. Get out of your contract. Don't even sign that contract without having a lawyer look at it. Don't. But I'm going to talk to you about this one. I designed this myself as well. There are 2 printed copies of this book. That's it. That's it. This book is a lot nicer edited. It has no formatting whatsoever, if you can't tell. Zero formatting. No. I designed the book cover. One of my original poems is in this book, as is in the first book. And this book never got to anyone who ordered it. Ever. Because my publisher stopped responding to me. I started asking questions, and he didn't like that. Yeah. This is where the bad stuff happens. This book never got released to anyone. People paid for it and they didn't get it. And I could do nothing to help them. I could do nothing because the publisher would not talk to me. I could not get him to send me paychecks. Yeah, I was supposed to get royalties for these things, and I did not get those for a long time. I badgered him for months trying to figure out what was going on, and then he sent me the first check I got in 6 months. It was 45 cents. Anyone else see a problem with that? From the paycheck of this book being $3,000 to this one being 45 cents. Something's not right here. You'd be right. If you're thinking what I'm thinking you are, you'd be right. If you're saying embezzlement, you'd be right. Although the bad thing is, I can't prove it. But it's pretty obvious that there was something going on. I'm not going to point fingers at this point. It's been over 10 years. I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to call names. I'm not going to say the name of this person because there's nothing I can do now. The only thing I can do is warn you and talk to you and advise you and offer my services as a person who's been writing for 12 years, as a person who's been a published author in traditional publishing, as a person who has had this experience put under their belt, whether they liked it or not. So, yeah. To my knowledge, I am the only person who has hard copies of the second book. Those two. That's it. I don't have any other hard copies of that book. The other book, I've actually found that, funnily enough, I found that book on resale shops and actually contacted them as the author and asked where they came from. They weren't reprints. They were the original first printing of this book. It had nothing changed. It was the original numbering and all of that. But it was a unpleasant experience. It turned me off from traditional publishing. I will not be traditionally publishing Aimatsu Chronicles. I will self-publish that because I am actually terrified of this happening again. I am scared to death of not only having this happen again, but of losing the rights to my book. And I'm not willing to do that. I'm not telling you not to traditionally publish. I'm just telling you to check all of your bases before you do, especially if it's not with a big publisher. If you are publishing with a small indie press that does not have thousands and thousands of, books in their catalog, or well-known authors, if they are small, local even, if they have very few books, if they have next to no advances on your story, take that contract to a lawyer and have them look at it before you sign it. If the lawyer tells you not to do it, don't do it. If you get a bad feeling when you're talking to the person at the publishing house, don't sign that contract. Don't do any business with them. Get an agent, because their job is to protect you as the author. They're going to get paid a lot more than you will, though, just so you know. But their job is to protect you. I did not have an agent because I could not get one, because no one would do that because I was so young. So I'm going to reiterate 5 points to you. Number 1, check all your bases. Do your research before you even contact a traditional publisher by yourself. If they don't require an agent, research, reviews, contact some of their authors and talk to them. 2, have a lawyer look at your contract. Even if you have an agent, I will say it again, have a lawyer look at your contract. 3, talk to your agent beforehand about the things that you do and do not want to have done with your book and yourself as an author. Publishing companies will screw you over. No trouble. They don't care. They really don't. It's a numbers game. 4. Be mindful of what people say to you and keep track of everything. 5, know your entire contract in and out and save every single conversation that you email and text to the person who is in charge of publishing your book. Print them out, put them in a binder, and hold on to them. If you need to use that to defend yourself in court, you're going to need that proof. Thankfully, I did not have to do that, but I'm just telling you, be careful when you're doing this. There is a website called predatorsandeditors.com, I believe it is. I think they're still operating today. They actually have a list of all the publishers and agents that you can trust and cannot trust. I will advise this to go on there and use them as a starting point, but don't count on everything in their information bank to be 100% up to date. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about that for a little bit. And I'm going to switch over to something a little bit lighter because this was hard for me to talk about and everything because I don't like talking about it that much. I do bring it up on occasion, but I don't like going into detail like this. It's just a lot. But what I want to talk to you about is just something a little fun. Just little fun stuff. I'm going to be doing a video on 20 things you didn't know about being traditionally published. So we'll go into a little bit more depth on that. 20 things you don't know about being self-published. Things authors don't tell you about being an author. And I'm also going to start doing a little bit of work on talking about the process of revising Ayamatsu Chronicles Volume 1, The Blue Lotus, because the beta process is almost over. Can't believe that, huh? It's been amazing. I really want to thank all the beta readers for all their hard work. They did a great job, and I'm really looking forward to the last bit of the feedback so we can get started on editing this brick of a thing. It's a big book. I have to cut this down, and a few other things have to be done to it for me to get ready to send it off to be critiqued. I'm also going to go in and talk about some other stuff. I will actually be addressing fun things like my step process to get this book published and what I advise you should do if you are self-publishing. This is through a lot of research and personal experience, so, take it with a grain of salt, but it might help. I'm also going to be talking about these a little bit more. I don't bring them up, but they're kind of like my problem children, and I feel like I should give them a little attention because at some point I may want to come back and visit Alex again and talk to him again through these stories. So I will talk to you guys later. This has been a long video. If you have any questions or anything like that, just put a comment below and I'll try to answer them, or you can message me, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. But I really would like to talk to you guys about this. And I will catch you later, okay? Bye.